This is VOA Africa.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githu-Ewart. It's Monday, October 28th. This is Africa 54. South Africa debates a bill to provide universal health care. An Ivorian painter with no arms or legs makes art and a living. And the secrets of the success of Kenyan marathon runners. We begin in Southern Africa, where Mozambique's incumbent president Filipe Nyusi won a landslide victory in the presidential race, according to the National Election Commission. Nyusi secured 73% of the vote, and his ruling Frelimo also won big in the legislative and provincial contests. It was hoped the vote would calm tensions in the nation, but it has instead stoked divisions as opposition parties cry foul. His main rival, Osufo Momade, of former guerrilla movement turned main opposition party, Renamo, trailed behind with 21.8% of the vote. It was hoped the October 15th poll could set the seal on the fragile pact designed to put a definitive end to 4 decades of violence between Frelimo and Renamo. Now, some fear the deal is at risk of falling apart as opposition parties reject the results, claiming they were tarnished by fraud and violence from the outset. Frelimo maintains the elections were free and fair. South Africa's parliament is debating the National Health Insurance Bill, a plan for universal health care. Proponents say it will bring justice and equality to the healthcare system in the deeply unequal country. But critics say the plan is too ambitious and they doubt the government can do it honestly, citing repeated accusations of corruption in other public sector projects. VOA's Anita Paul has our report from Johannesburg.
When it comes to healthcare, not all South Africans are equal. According to the government, only 15% of South Africans have health insurance. The rest depend on the nation's overburdened public healthcare system. But the government is debating a bill to provide universal coverage, an ambitious plan that they've tested at several public hospitals already. Dr. Bandile Masuku, an official in the nation's most populous province, Gauteng, says a national health plan, in the spirit of Britain's NHS, is a moral necessity.
In a country like South Africa, we are a country of democracy that has to look after the vulnerable, and the universal health coverage is one way that we're going to do it.
Critics point to the government's track record of corruption and mismanagement and say the plan is too ambitious, too expensive, and too vague.
We've been at it for 10 years. We don't have enough clarity on how we want to do things now. To think that in the next 7 years you're suddenly going to miraculously have that clarity, it's just not a realistic proposal.
For chronic care patients like Kanyisa Ntombini, anything is better than the current system. She's had numerous surgeries in public hospitals for her ailments, which include blindness, and says public hospitals need all the help they can get so the country can develop.
As a country, we will never be able to improve because we have this huge number of people who are unproductive and will forever be sick. So we need the NHI to implement it so that we have more funding in rural hospitals and township hospitals so that people's health can improve.
She says she's willing to subsidize the system.
I think quality health care, like food, like shelter, is something that everybody deserves to have, and for me, I would be more than willing to contribute to ensuring that everybody has a quality health care.
If the bill passes, the system will be implemented by 2026. By then, Ntombini will probably be working as an engineer, earning too much to qualify for public health care. And that, she says, is the point. This, she says, is for the next generation of South Africans. Anita Paul, VOA News, Pretoria.
The United Nations on Friday ruled out giving any support to countries neighboring the Democratic Republic of Congo if they use military intervention in the east of the country. The region is plagued by militia violence. The prospects of a joint military intervention by DRC and its neighbors surfaced in the light of a meeting of senior military officials from 5 Great Lakes region around Beni. Those present were chiefs from Burundi, the DRC, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. Among the militias troubling the Kivu region are the Allied Democratic Forces, an Islamist-rooted Ugandan armed group, the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR. Both groups have been blamed for a string of atrocities in eastern Congo. Now for more on insecurity in DRC, I'm joined in the studio by Lambert Mende, DRC's former communications minister. Mr. Mende, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
Obviously, the question of insecurity in eastern DRC has been a thorny issue for a long, long time. What is your reaction, first of all, to the UN statement on Friday?
According to what was reported to our parliament, it is not question of joint military operation. It is question of exchanging intelligence information between armies and a commitment from all the armies to deploy in their borders to stop these militia to run away when they are coming from Congo.
Now, but what does the DRC government see as the way forward? Because some of these neighboring countries have accused DRC of actually providing a safe haven for these armed groups that are opposed to those governments.
It is impossible for DRC to give support to people who are killing citizens from Congo, who are raping our people. No, we know that those are mafia-style groups. We are fighting them. Maybe we have not yet defeated them, but we are fighting them. So those accusations are not founded at all.
Now, when you look at MONUSCO, the UN mission in Congo, there has been like a love-hate relationship. Some of the people in Congo saying we need these people to move out of our country. Others feel that their presence is important. What is the government's stand on MONUSCO?
I'm no longer in the government, but it is a view that is common to Congolese now, that we think that those people who are there just for accountability of death, instead of fighting, as are doing the international brigade, these Tanzanian, Malawi, and South African, others are just there to account for how many people have been killed and so on. So you don't use all that amount of money, 20 billions for the 20 last years, just for accounting people who have been wounded or who have died. So we think that enough is enough. They can think of moving away.
Even though you're not in the current government, there has been a bill and a move, the government pledging to protect the human rights and especially curb gender violence. There has been so much violence against women in DRC. Where do we stand at this point? As
I have told you, this part of our country, the eastern part, is victim of what we have under our feet. What we have in the subsurface of the country, this mining. It is bringing us a lot of people coming, you know, being supported by the end users, Western people who are giving them ammunition to fight our army, and they are trying to disorganize our state so that they can go on, you know, exploiting all these minerals, resource we are having, and this is bringing a lot of violation of human rights, including this problem of gender-based violations.
Yeah, you talk about people coming in, but what is the government going to do now to protect the women of Congo?
We have tried to build an army by the name, because the army was almost destroyed some years ago, and we worked hard, and we have now an army that can fight, and we are starting fighting. And I'm sure that maybe something can be done to destroy these groups.
Right. Mr. Mende, thank you very much for coming on Africa 54.
You're welcome.
Right. Lambert Mende is former communications minister in DRC. Now, questions arose after a gunman in Christchurch, New Zealand, live-streamed a video of himself opening fire at a mosque earlier this year. The terrorist killed 51 people and injured dozens. Now, British police are turning to social media companies to stop such broadcasts before they start. VOA's Arash Arbasadi has this story.
This police training exercise in southeast England prepares law enforcement for an active shooter takedown.
We have highly skilled firearms officers who train in various different situations to address firearms threats. That gives us the opportunity to capture footage from the viewpoint of a shooter.
The training follows the terror attack in Christchurch, New Zealand earlier this year that was live streamed on social media.
The distress caused to victims and relatives of victims, knowing that this footage is being shared, and therefore a lot more focus after the Christchurch attack.
Police say exercises are as much about training officers as they are staying ahead of the next attack.
By sharing that with Facebook, they're going to be able to build algorithms to identify this type of material when it's loaded onto the internet very quickly and prevent that being shared further. Working closely with Facebook is going to enable us to reduce the proliferation of this material online, and anything that can do that has to be a good thing.
Just a few weeks ago, a gunman in Germany opened fire outside a synagogue during Yom Kippur services. He live-streamed the attack. Arash Erbasadi, VOA News, Washington.
Now, in Ivory Coast, an artist works hard for his money, painting scenes with pen, brush, and paint, even though he has neither arms nor legs. VOA's Jim Rando tells us how he does it.
Without arms or legs, artist Adama Traore of Abidjan finds a unique way to make his art. Line by line, stroke by stroke, color by color. Missing limbs since birth, he attended a center for disabled youth at 9, where he learned ways to paint.
When I was a child, my mom sent me to this white lady named Marie Odile in the Center for the Disabled. I learned to paint there. I worked with gouache markers. Thanks to her, there were more than 100 disabled people in the center. The lady passed away and I ended up in the streets.
It was a difficult life after his teacher and mentor died. Just getting around was hard. Taxi drivers would not pick him up, assuming he had no money. But he kept painting colorful landscapes and portraits, earning some recognition and money. Traore slowly built up savings from his artwork and used it to open a small art studio. He got married and now commutes to work by taxi. This driver, impressed by the artist's determination, now gives him both a ride and a bit of a discount on the fare.
Every day I pick him and drop him off, and the evening again. I take him back home. Honestly, money doesn't matter. It's courage.
Traore says painting is therapeutic and lifts spirits.
Painting heals, painting boosts morale, painting cleans the spirit. Become Traore Adama. If I didn't paint, I don't know what I would do. I can't be a carpenter, I can't be a mason, but I do paint. If I'm just sitting here, people would say, this one is doing nothing, he's a beggar. But when they see me working, they're saying, this one is a worker.
That work earns Traore about $84 for each painting. Jim Randall, VOA News.
What an amazing story. We're excited to hear what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Still to come, why Kenya has become a powerhouse in long-distance running. We'll be back.
We're talking about the news and issues you're talking about,
sharing stories of development and growth across Africa, around the world, and in our lives. Topics that inform, empower,
and change the rules.
It's time for Our Voices
with me, Haiti Adams Fitzpatrick,
and Hadiza Kiari,
and Ayan Bior,
and Orion Itangi Shaka.
It's time for Our Voices.
lyrics could be French,
English,
Portuguese,
Bantu,
Arabic.
It is the beat.
The African beat that counts.
The beat does all the translations.
It cuts across all languages and gives us the understanding that this is the African beat.
It is so distinct
and adhesive.
It binds us together.
African beat on the Voice of America. For more information, visit our website at www.voanews.com/AfricanBeat.
I am Sheikh Sali, host and senior editor of VOA's international call-in talk show, Straight Talk Africa.
Today we'll examine the tobacco industry.
We pretty much touch on anything that you can think of. Politics, health issues, human rights issues, you name it, we talk about it. The issues that we discuss are pertinent to most people on the African continent. A very, very rare and unique opportunity to interact with their leaders.
I'm Clara Frank, and here's what's trending. Glamorous models, innovative designers, and fashion aficionados recently came together in Ivory Coast's economic capital, Abidjan, to promote eco-friendly fashion and sustainable designs. Eco-fashion, also called sustainable fashion, is a part of the growing design philosophy and consumer trend in which items are produced with consideration to the environmental and social impact they might have throughout their total lifespan, including their carbon footprint. Models saunter down the runway sporting clothes and accessories made from discarded waste, such as cans, plastic bags, and bottles. Next up, members of the LGBTQ community celebrated the 30th anniversary of the Johannesburg Pride Parade. The parade came 2 days after 16 LGBT+ activists were charged in Uganda with the crime of gay sex, punishable by life in jail, in what campaigners call an escalating campaign against sexual minorities in the East African nation. A 2019 report by the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association found 32 African countries out of a total of 54 nations criminalize same-sex relations. South Africa is the only African nation to legalize gay marriage. And finally, it's the look every aspiring trick-or-treating canine would kill for. And retailers say sparkling, light-up details are among the year's top trends. According to the American National Retail Federation, 172 million Americans celebrate Halloween, of whom 29 million dress up their pets. Across the United States, spending on pet Halloween costumes is booming. The Retail Federation estimates $490 million will be spent this year. Pinterest was the source of inspiration for 18% of shoppers, while 14% checked either YouTube or Instagram. And that's what's trending today.
Former U.S. Congressman John Conyers, who served in the U.S. House of Representatives for more than 50 years, died Sunday at his home in Detroit, Michigan, at the age of 90. Conyers was first elected in 1964, representing the Midwestern city, and quickly became a champion of civil rights and other liberal causes. He was a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus and introduced legislation to create a holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. just days after the civil rights icon's assassination in 1968. His efforts finally succeeded in 1983 when President Ronald Reagan signed the bill into law. Conyers also called for federal spending to study the issue of compensating African-American descendants of slaves, as well as government-run single-payer national health insurance program. Conyers abruptly resigned in 2017 amid accusations of sexual harassment by former staffers. Although he denied the allegations when he resigned, he was the longest-serving African-American in the history of Congress. U.S. President Donald Trump says the world is a safer place after the death of Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who was killed late Saturday during a U.S. raid in Syria. Michael Sullivan reports that the action is being widely applauded, but some warn that the danger posed by the terror group has not been eliminated.
U.S. Special Forces team cornered Baghdadi in a tunnel in Idlib province in northwestern Syria, where he detonated a suicide vest, killing himself and 3 children. Trump says 11 children were removed safely from the site. There were no American casualties. Trump and senior officials watched the attack unfold from the White House.
A brutal killer, one who has caused so much hardship and death, has violently been eliminated. He will never again harm another innocent man, woman, or child.
After Baghdadi declared the Islamic State Caliphate in the Iraqi city of Mosul in 2014, he oversaw a reign of terror with rapes and videotaped beheadings. By early 2018, the group had lost most of its territory. One man in Mosul welcomed news of Baghdadi's death.
God knows that I and all the Islamic community are happy. His death is revenge for all Iraqi martyrs. They beheaded my dad's uncle. One of my brothers was killed by their motor shows.
Sunday morning, Trump thanked the U.S. troops and others who cooperated.
I want to thank the nations of Russia, Turkey, Syria, and Iraq. And I also want to thank the Syrian Kurds for certain support they were able to give us. This was a very, very dangerous mission.
Israel's prime minister congratulated the U.S. president.
This is an important milestone, but it's part of a longer battle which we must win.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson called this an important moment, but said the fight against Baghdadi's group continues. Earlier this month, Trump announced withdrawal of most U.S. troops from Kurdish-held sections of northern Syria. Kurdish forces then withdrew amid a ceasefire following a Turkish offensive, leaving Russian and Syrian units to patrol a buffer zone, while Turkish-based militias hold parts of the border region. Senator Lindsey Graham said the conflict between the Syrian Kurds and Turkey needs to be resolved. He called Baghdadi's killing a game-changer, but said the war on terror is not over. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
It's time for Monday Sports Report, and joining us now is Sunday Shomari. Hello, Sunday.
Hello, Esther.
It's your time. Take it away.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Over the weekend, it was party and jamming in South Africa after the rugby national team Springbok secured a place in the finals after defeating Wales 1916 in the semi-finals on Sunday. They will now face England in the final, and this year's final is a repeat of 2007 edition, which South Africa won 15-6 points. The Springboks could be the first team to win the tournament after losing a match in the pool stage. But to do it, they must defeat England, which impressively dismantled New Zealand, the tournament favorite, on Saturday, 19-7 points. And in Premier League, Liverpool, or the Reds, maintained their dominance over Tottenham Hotspurs with a 2-1 victory. Second half strikes from Mo Salah, the King of Egypt, and Jordan Henderson ensured Liverpool stays on top of the league and not losing at home Anfield. And the Emirates Stadium boys, Arsenal, could not hold their 2-goals lead against Crystal Palace and ended in a 2-2 draw in a dramatic game that saw Wilfried Zaha making a joke about Matteo Guendouzi's rash challenge on him on social media. The Ivory Coast international was on the counter in the dying minutes of the match, and as he attempted to get past Guendouzi, the Frenchman made a desperate tackle that was NFL style of rugby on him. And Man United humiliated Norwich City 3-1 at their home turf in Carroll Stadium. And in Washington, the Houston Astros defeated Washington Nationals 7-1 in Game 5 of the World Series on Sunday night at the Nationals Park in the city. The Astros have taken the lead in the best-of-7 series at 3-2 and head back to Houston, one win away from the second World Series title in 3 years. So why Americans call the baseball championship World Series? The World Series is a match between each league's best team. The first contest of World Series happened in 1903, only in North America. The owner of the National League champion, Pittsburgh Pirates, challenged the American League, and over time of the name of postseason playoff became World Series, a term now criticized as arrogant and ignorant by baseball fans around the world. And now in Kenya, reputation as a producer of world-class marathon runners was further boosted this month when Eliud Kipchoge and Bridget Kosgei broke world records on the same weekend. So running is a big thing in that country, where regular competitions give Kenyans a chance to prepare for greater glory. Mohammed Yusuf has more from Nairobi.
The Vindelat cross-country competition, a yearly event at this remote village in the Rift Valley, attracts Kenyans of all ages. More than 5,000 people registered to run in the various races this year. Event organizers see the competition as a way to nurture talent.
We've managed to see that the young ones are the ones participating more. We've had about 2,500 of the young ones doing the race. And for sure, I can tell you this country will now have talents and make sure that the supply for athletes to the national team will never go dry because of the cross country.
Some of the athletes have big dreams of competing internationally.
I started this year in Gabon. I was number 2. My sister was number 1. Now I have built my body so that I can represent my country.
My leg has been giving me a bit of a problem. I was supposed to go to Berlin to compete, but I could not go because of my injury. Then I prepared for this Vindelat race to try my luck and see how I am recovering from my injury.
The Rift Valley is filled with athletic training camps like this one. Jabet Emily was the first of 40 runners to join this camp 12 years ago at the age of 14. Since joining the camp, she has won many competitions.
I went to compete in Ethiopia. I came in 4th in the 5,000 meter race. Then I went to Mauritius, where I won a gold medal for the 3,000 meter. Then I went to Colombia. I won a silver medal for the 3,000 meter. Recently, I graduated to compete in the 21 kilometers race.
Her best friend, who joined the camp 5 years ago, is ambitious.
By now, I prepare for Africa cross country. Now I am preparing for Africa cross country for the Olympics. I will work with my coach for the training, the help, and advice I need. I think I will do well.
The competition is getting stiffer as many athletes want to represent Kenya at the 2020 Olympics in Japan. At the 2016 Games, Kenyan runners won 12 of the 13 medals awarded to Kenyan athletes. At this competition, the winners got flowers and tea bags, a beginning for many of these Kenyan athletes who hope to win even greater rewards on the world stage. Mohammed Yusuf for VOA News, Dalat, Kenya.
And that wraps our sports for today. Back to you, Esther.
Thank you, Sunday. See you Monday. And that wraps our show for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. From all of us here in Washington, have a good night.